They'll blanket you in Wi-Fi and profit off the radiation. Congregation collecting the people for that Satan. I keeps it blazing, cause I can read between the lines. I ain't blind, we unwind what they're really saying. Genetically modify what you're tasting. Loan you that cottage promise, so now you live up in your mom's basement. Redesign time so your mind is always wasted. Programmed to crave the basics. Keep the beta in stasis. Pay the state, kid. You're in debt for being born. Messengers are more than just the price for being warned. Don't be alarmed, disconnect from their machinations. Stop subscribing to the folly of own nations. Bone breaking ain't the answer, cause they seek the ownership of souls. Spread the seeds and watch them grow. Break the chains of control. Break the chains of control.
Sweet eternal balance of all that is good, true, and beautiful, friends. Tonight is a badass celebration of awesomeness on Rogueways as we get to spend divine church time with our good friend and kindred soul, Chaney the Conspiracy Chicken, who follows the rabbit trails, or should I say chicken trails, wherever they lead, passionately and hilariously, looks upon them with the bravery of a saint, shares her beautiful heart in every way she can, and boldly follows her drumbeat wherever it leads. Chaney, it is excellent to be with you as always. How are you doing tonight?
I am doing pretty fantastic. How are you doing tonight?
I am very good. I am full of beautiful energy. I'm super excited to talk to you because it's been a while, but also you always know the best, coolest things, so I'm excited. But before we jump in, I do want to tell people it's the last day today to get 25% off this spring One Day of Brightness event, which will be on the equinox. It is virtual, so it's all Zoom, so you don't have to worry about where you are in the world if you want to come to it. The last one we did on the winter solstice was exceptionally powerful for people, and I think it blew all of our minds just how awesome it was. So if you want to come get like centered and rooted and like reach up to your highest self and just be like taking advantage of all those badass rebirth energies that are coming on this spring equinox, then you want to come, and it's going to be rad. We have 3 master teachers and practitioners who are going to be there. It's Catherine O'Shea, Alan Sisko, and Emily Atwood this time, and of course we always focus on just being the badasses that we are, but also learning a bit and practicing to get together and just connecting, and it's just so awesome and cool. And last time people won Spiro gear as goodies, and this time what we're going to have are a couple sessions with Catherine O'Shea, and she's the animal communicator. So if you've been wanting a session with Catherine but you haven't been able to afford it, then you may be able to win one. There's going to be 2 of those that we're going to be giving away to 2 lucky participants. The spots are filling up right now. Like I said, is the last day to get 25% off. So if you go to rogueways.org and you go to the shop and you find the One Day of Brightness in the classes section, I believe is where it is in the shop. The coupon code you want to use is Brighter Spring. Brighter Spring is all one word with a capital B and a capital S, and that is 25% off the price. So last day to get that price. You can still get a ticket after today, just not at 25% off. So go check it out, and you can find all sorts of other stuff on the site while you're there. And finally, Chaney, the pointless question of the episode for you today is, what is the most fun thing you've done recently?
Most fun thing. I chased after the ice cream truck today.
That is fun. That's awesome. You can eat ice cream and be outside right now. It must not be 20 degrees where you are.
I think it was like probably 75 today.
That is my perfect temperature.
I like 68 because you got to leave it wanting more.
Yeah.
I know. It seems like a nice April day, 68.
I love that. I feel like that's perfectly your energy, that you would chase after an ice cream truck on a 75-degree day and like get your ice cream. You need that.
It was awesome. Yeah, I haven't had ice cream in a while, and then I ate it, and then I felt like I was in a little bit of a sugar coma. And then Daddy Trump talked today at the CPAC convention.
Yeah.
And so that's never a bad day. It's been a while since we've got the exciting guy on TV.
Yes. I mean, like, I think you were the one that pointed out, we haven't even got the boring pedophile guy on TV. So we've had nothing for a while, and it's like left an absence in our lives, I feel like. But did you watch today? I didn't even have a chance to look or see anything about it.
I watched the whole thing. Some of it it was just, there's so much regurgitation of so much of the stuff I've heard at so many speeches, but I'm sure there's a lot of people that aren't my demographic. I thought Angela Stanton King, she was on the panel right before Trump, and I thought she was really interesting. I thought that whole panel, it was like all African American people and one Latino guy. Yeah, it was super. They were just really phenomenal, and none of them were supposed to be on it. It was just supposed to be one guy from Sirius XM, but he invited the rest of them up there, and they were really impactful. And then Trump came out, and I don't know. It did not sound to me like it's going to be. He was like, "There's going to be a Republican in the White House very soon. We know who that's going to be. We know who that's going to be." It just didn't sound to me like a guy who was conceding at all.
So you think he's still on that, like, we're going to do this and pull it off
I'm
somehow?
just like, what's happening right now?
Because people have been saying March 4th, is that right? Because that's the old inauguration day or something, like could be a day that he gets back in, or do you think that's what he's referring to?
I feel like people have said that there's never been a time, and I've heard people say that never in the first year of their presidency do they ever do the State of the Union, but I'm like, I don't know. And then some people are like, never before in the history has a president done their State of the Union not in January or February. So the fact that Trump spoke and not Biden yet is weird.
Wow.
And then like you're saying, oh shit, is it Theodore Roosevelt? That was, it might not be him at all. I feel like I'm getting two
Who
presidents
changed it or whatever.
But one of them got sworn in, like you're saying, on March 4th. And I think it was like very constitutional republic. That's the thing. Oh yeah. There was just so many, the republic. That's what people need to start. We're not a democracy.
Yeah.
We're not a democracy. We're not a democracy. We're a republic. So, oh yeah, Trump did say he's not going to start a third political party. He's like, that's not what our country needs. It's more division.
Good.
I'm going to take over the Republican Party. Like, this is what's happening. So I love the word republic. So I'm like, okay, I guess I'm a Republican. So maybe more than a full conservative. But there are things about conservatism more so that I lean nowadays, that I understand more in my older age. But
yeah, I'm totally with you, and it shocked me. I was like, wait a second. Republicans and like conservative people are starting to make sense to me, but I was brainwashed like so many people into believing that all Republicans are rich, greedy, racist, sexist, old, fundamental Christian assholes. And I'm like, wow, I really must not have ever looked into that, because it's almost never true. I know there are some of those people who exist, but that's not what the party is. But I love your point about, that we're a republic and not a democracy. And I feel like this is this long-standing spell we've been under of like neurolinguistic programming that, democracy. We're bringing democracy to Iraq. We're bringing democracy everywhere. We have democracy. We love democracy. And like, no one questions that. And you're absolutely right. It's not true.
Yeah, we don't want it at all. It's almost a faux gift, almost like a fake thing, like a mirage that they can wrap up, but you don't want majority to rule. That is the opposite of what you want. That is not what we want at all. We don't want 51% to always lead with 49. Like a way you build a society about doing what sometimes only 1% because it's right. And so the idea of a democracy is ludicrous. If a democracy rule, you would never put like a handicap bathroom on anything because it doesn't fit the 51%.
Yeah.
So it's just like there's certain things that you just do sometimes for I don't even like the word lesser than, just different than, because it's right. And I don't know.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of a republic thing.
Yeah, and don't you agree, too, that the Republic idea has a little bit more emphasis, too, on states' rights, which, for me, at least, that's another thing that I always valued, even when I thought I was a Democrat or a communist or whatever I thought I was. I still was always like, well, yeah, states should get, why would anyone but the state choose what's going on in that state? And I feel like true republicanism really values that way more than a democratic or a democracy could.
I actually posted something today that Red Pill Babe, she is this awesome, I don't want to do her whole lineage or guess, but I know she's like a Cuban American out of Miami. I know English was her second language, and she posted this awesome thing about like, I see a lot of people out there asking why there's masks at the CPAC convention, even though it's in Florida. Well, this is a perfect opportunity for you to learn what a republic is. You live in a republic, and in a republic, the state a governor can have a certain set of rules, but each mayor can decide what's good for their area. Like, you can show up for your city council and you can show up for your things, but most people are so worried about who the president is, but they don't know who the tax collector is in their town. They don't know who their mayor is. They don't know who their local officials are. And in a republic, the reason it's set up that way is so you can hold your local officials accountable. Who can hold Joe Biden or Donald Trump accountable? Both those guys could run away into a bunker tomorrow. What are they going to do with us? But you can hold your local officials accountable, but nobody even knows their constitutional rights federally, much less their state rights locally. And I would bet you could, if you really learned your state constitutions, there are rules put in there that your state has led you to believe are racist or homophobic or something. But really, if you really look into it and why it was set there, it's probably some precedence against the man somehow infringing on your rights. But they just are trying to pollute everything to, like, this is the best part of us, I think, is what people need to own again, are like liberal bleeding hearts. And like the best way, they try to take our liberal bleeding hearts and let it be our logic. And that's not how it's supposed to be at all.
Yeah.
Like, that's not how it's supposed to be at all. Like, you can't be drug around by your heart. Like, your head has to be there to protect it.
Yeah, it's a really, really important balance too, because I feel like this is what leads to abusive situations and, like, you know, keep like letting the fucking drunk keep moving back into your house or whatever. Like, all these situations where people are taking advantage of you because you love people. We all love people. Like, we love ourselves and one another, and to some extent or another, you know, those of us who haven't cut that part off completely, and you want to help people, but you're right. You learn logically you can't keep doing this sometimes, and sometimes, like, the thing that seems like the harshest is actually the best way to go. And I love associating that with the Republic, you know, that idea that, like, you have to be balanced. You got to, like, know that you love people and also be real. Like, people are gonna like loot your underwear drawer for your hidden stash of money or whatever, like, if you let them into your house too long, or, you know, you can't just give it all away.
You are born with your rights, whatever that means, you're born with those. There has to be, unfortunately, for you to just be able to play in the sun or create or art, there has to be some kind of system set up to protect the rights you're born with, because there's always something out there that wants to take that away. Unfortunately, I want to live in a dream world where it's, you know, unicorns and roses and, you know, and I do think we're going to be there, but I think there's things about our sovereignty that we have to take. And I think there's ways to do it without guns. I think all the laws are spells on alchemic paper that we have to undo the same way we did them, but we have to learn what they are. We have to, like, logically know what they are. We can't just let the TV tell us what they are. We can't let each other just tell you, like, we all have to take part so we can figure out the best ways to unravel it. And then once we unravel it, how are we going to take care of our community afterward? We have to do that together. Like, it's all one big, we have to, like, put the dominoes back up the same way they fell or something. Or a whole different way, or fuck the dominoes. I don't know.
Yeah. Because I'm, like, imagining, like, looking at every single law and trying to understand it and undo it instead of just, like, burning it down and just, like, starting from the ashes. Because that is so complicated. And I always imagine this, right? Like, what if all of time is these, like, multi-threaded things that slowly got, like, more and more and more tangled, and now we're in this, like, knot, and if we have to untie that, I don't know if that's possible. But you can just, like, fire to the yarn and just, like, but then you're like starting from scratch. So I'm not saying that I know, I'm just saying, like, it is overwhelming for me to imagine that level of intricate work that it would take to do that. And I just had the Kali card in a reading that I did for March, which everyone's going to be able to see tonight in rogue.logos.com and partially on YouTube. And I love that energy of Kali, 'cause she's like, fuck all this shit, just, like, rips it apart. And what's left is always, like, what's most essential and beautiful that you can regrow everything worthwhile from.
Like, completely purified in the fires.
Yeah, it's like alchemic too. Maybe it's a reverse alchemy or whatever.
If loosh or energy harvesting or any of this is real, we can't do it to people. So I think the divine order has to be done in the same way. I don't want to scare people on either side, even if we're right. So I think it would have to be as painful of a process it is. The idea to me of follow the white rabbit, I'm like, well, it means we're a tortoise.
Yeah.
Like follow the hair because this shit's gonna take a while. But it has to kind of be done that way. It has to show every tedious thing. You can't just say, here's the, like, look how long the OJ Simpson case took, and that was just one dude and one murder.
Yeah.
And look at all the things conspiracy theorists are talking about going on, from SCOTUS gate to Russian hoax to, if you want to get next level, the people that are talking about like Pizzagate stuff or whatever. I just think the layers and layers and layers upon things are kind of ridiculous. Can you imagine if it really all just came out on the Golden Globes tonight?
Is that tonight?
Yes.
Oh, I
And
thought
there
it was
was
soon or something. It's like now.
Elon Musk was going to shoot up a rocket launch, and it's perfect weather here. And it didn't go off. It was going to put another one of those Starlink satellites in the sky. So I'm like, ritual failed.
Yeah, good. That makes me happy when they fail at that. And I fucking hate Starlink more than most things. So like that makes me extra happy. I just saw Grimes, like his weird wife or whatever, and some lyrics that she wrote in this song with someone who I'm going to forget, but if anyone in the chat wants to go find it and remind us. But the lyrics were basically like, AI is our God and we're really happy to worship AI and that's great. Like there's no veiling of it at all. They're just like, yep, that's our God. We worship it. And this is good. And I'm like, this is like some of this shit. I'm like, are you just trying to get attention? And this is the trendy, like all the conspiracy theorists are looking at it and all the non-conspiracy theorists are laughing about how the conspiracy theorists are looking at it. And so you're just trying to get attention? Or are you really just like that fucked up that you're singing songs about worshiping AI as a god? Like, this is weird. Him and his wife are weird as fuck.
So weird. I can't stand gray. Like, I don't like when Elon Musk worship at all.
Yeah.
I'm like, nope, I'm not getting down with it. I don't understand how he's the richest dude. He tells everyone to jump at this one world currency, and everyone's like, yay, I can make a couple cents. That's how they take over every currency of all time, is they give you a shittier currency at a really great exchange rate. And you're like, look how rich I am. And they're like, here, we'll give you $50,000 for your one tiny piece of silver. And you're like, take it. This is amazing. Look at, I have $50,000, but your fucking money is just as worth as much as my word. Whereas silver's always worth what conductive metal is worth, especially the most conductive metal. So yeah, I think Grimes and all that shit. And I think they're casting metals. I think that, you remember Bed Knobs and Broomsticks?
No.
It was like a Disney movie, and it had Angela Lansbury on it.
Yeah,
And she was like, she took her finger on the top of a bed knob and it glue like orange and fiery, and then they would travel to like kind of different dimensions and under the sea. And one part at the end there was a big battle, and so she does there's like locomotion spells, and so she does one. Sorry, I'm cussing so much. Okay. She does like a locomotion spell, and she puts it on all the night suits in like a museum, and all the night suits come alive and they start walking. And I just think metal has, we know it's conductive, and we know we're electricity, like we're energy. So I think that these metals, like I'm almost wanting to link it to all the like Ark of the Covenant, Spear of Destiny. I think these metals are holding something. I think people know how to do the spells for them on a regular basis. And so when you say Grimes and their AI worship, and to me, even the Terminator, I think they I don't know if they're trying to make the computer bigger than it is, and if it's not just casted metals. Like they just want to put all these metals into us. It might not be the AI. If they can put a spell on the metal, and we're injecting ourselves with all of it, I just think it's precious metal versus unprecious. From the beginning of time, the same silver and gold have always been the most valuable thing.
Wow.
The Egyptian blood's made out of it. Like the gods of Egypt, their bloods were made out of, some say silver, some say gold.
Wow. Yeah, and it's interesting because when you have trace elements, like trace levels at least of gold and silver, you know, which is why people used to eat and drink off of silver and gold cutlery and whatnot is because having that in you is supposed to have amazing health effects too. So it's always interesting how it lines up on like multiple levels. And then as you're pointing out, like throughout history, and that is pretty amazing to see something that holds its value through, you know, like your car loses value like the second you have it, and everything you have loses value the longer you have it. But like gold and silver always have value. And then I just think of like, do you remember this picture of the queen walking through? I hate that we can just say the queen and know which queen. That seems fucked up to me. But like the queen is walking
I was picturing
through.
Freddie Mercury. Like,
Yeah. That batty old bitch is walking through, I think it's the Federal Reserve. I don't know, but it's like where US was keeping all their gold at that time, which it's no longer in. Maybe it was Fort Knox.
Fort Knox, yeah.
Maybe.
Maybe.
I just know it's not
Green
there.
screen.
Yeah. Yeah. I just know it's not there anymore. But the look on her face, I felt like it was this look of like, we fucking did it. Like, we got this much gold and it is ours now. And it's supposed to be the people's, right? Like, that's supposed to be our money. And it's gone or whatever now. And so, like, clearly she took it. And I'm like, they know something we don't about the purpose of this metal and the functionality of it. And that is terrifying to me, especially given the reading that I just did for March. It worries me that you're, like, bringing this up now. And I'm, like, merging them together in my mind.
You know, everybody talks about like spelling and how it's actually casting spells and casting movies and casting plays. And it's like, oh my gosh, of course you cast metal. Like, of course you do. Of course you melt it and do all these things to it. And gosh, you might know better. I wish I could like phone a friend. Is it sigil? Is that the metal, like they wear them on themselves? Or it's like you can put energy into it.
A sigil definitely could be metal, but I don't know that they're always. But a sigil is usually like the symbol itself in a.
Yeah, and they wear them on that. Like certain people wear the symbols, like you know the coded language we're trying to figure out what they speak in. It's just interesting. Like even maybe rings and necklaces, pendants. Like what are these people pulling on? What kind of energy are they actually? I was thinking of Christ getting cut in his rib
with metal, like
all the things we know from history that are this kind of crazy idea. Even if you go to Tesla, if you want to jump down that conspiracy theory, it's like, oh well, how would they conduct all this energy? What would you stab in the ground to get the metal to go there? If you look at pharaohs, they all have their staffs you know, with the big curve. And I even
crook,
separate of that, this is my nerdy conspiracy that I just made about brooms. Why do witches fly brooms? They're really staffs, and ladies like pockets were outlawed. They, you know, all their shit was outlawed, so they couldn't do spells. So really it was their staff, and they just covered the end with hay, and they were like, just sweeping, governor, just sweep.
I love that. I'm totally not a threat to you.
It's like they probably just turned it upside down and put it on the ground, and the hay would fire off, and it was just okay, now to business.
Yeah. Dude, I love that. I've been like dreaming of making my own staff lately, right? Because my new show Middle Path has this like badass staff as the center middle path, and I'm like, I want that as like an actual staff. You have to make it yourself, because like you can't have someone else putting their energy and intention into this thing that's gonna be like your wizard staff. I'm like, what would I do? Is it wood? Yeah, mine would be wood. Yeah, what
kind of wood?
I don't know. I'd have to like think about it way more. But I'd want it to be some.
It would totally matter.
My uncle has this cane that I have wanted my whole life. That's like, I think it's ironwood. It's some kind of wood that's super, super hard and rare, I guess. The way he talks about it, this is like the only cane in the world that matters, and that's what has made me want it, is he's like, this is like extra special ironwood, and it's got like lemon branches sewn into it or something. I don't know. But I'm like, I want that cane, dude. It's like powerful.
It needs like gems and symbols and a roach clip.
Yeah.
Like a feather.
And you can like unscrew it, and there's just like all kinds of goodness in there.
My grandmother had a cane with a flask.
Dude,
it had a bird head on it, her cane, and when the bird head came off, there was like a flask inside of it.
That's so badass. I love it.
Weird.
Yeah, but this metal idea too, and you know, especially talking about like filling us with metals and then being able to charge or control that to some degree like that, it feels like it's coming to a head, but maybe that's just me, but I feel really weird about March, dude. I don't know. Do you feel weird about
Because
March?
I I think everybody needs to take part in their local elections. I think everyone needs to, like, you know, do other stuff, whatever it is. Do stuff, you know, like write books, do a podcast, go march, go to your city hall, do stuff. Be kind to people, listen to people. Everybody has something. Like, I think those like little things. But I still, energy wise, I can't panic. I can't like have a doomsday feeling. It's like I keep feeling like I have to right the ship of like not going down. To me, that's what hold the line means. Like when I hear that phrase, hold the line, it is the spiritual hold the line. It is to make sure all your friends know that you care about them, that like if you think about them, if you're having that psychic moment, like fucking call them. Who cares if you look like a stalking asshole?
Yeah.
Like no one should feel by themselves right now. I think we've been in like an unprecedented 370 days of war. Like we've been prisoners of war for 370 days, and it's real. And I think we need to be kind to ourselves and our emotional reactions to things, but really kind to each other when you're stronger. Even if you're in a shit mood, you have strength right now to be shitty. Some people do not have it. So if you can like level out and then just be an ear, you don't even have to add anything back to somebody else. Let them vent about their shit without adding. That's fine. Like,
fuck it.
Simple.
You just convinced me to put the tarot reading for March on for free on YouTube instead of having it for subscribers only on rogue.locals.com, because that's like the essential message of the reading, is that, you know, part of it, like some fucking wild shit is coming. As far as, I don't know, I hate making, as much as I'm a tarot reader, I hate making predictions. I know the future's malleable, so I don't like to be like, this is what's gonna happen, because who knows what the fuck's gonna happen. But the energies are saying that like what might be likely is some pretty big like economic upheaval, and then some something in our physical health that's really dark, and like it feels like a new like entity type or something. I don't know. Like I'm actually really weirded out by it, and I want to do a whole reading just on that card's placement and what it means and like get more out of it, because my instant thing when I turned it around felt like, you know, AI or like robotics or something was being like brought to life that was new and horrible, but that it had some connection with our bodies and the shit in it. And I'm like, I can't even imagine what the fuck that looks like, or how it would like suddenly come online in March or whatever. And so maybe that's just me misreading a card. I don't know. But the, you know, what you were just describing of like all of us are out here and like maybe feeling in the dark and like feeling disconnected, and like we're just this like little light surrounded by darkness. What are we with like 370 days of being a prisoner of war is pretty fucking intense when you put it like that. And if you don't know you can reach out and connect to other people, then maybe you extinguish yourself. Like we don't want that to happen. We don't want anyone to remember that we're all in the same night sky together, shining like together, and that is not going to change even if March brings some bullshit our way, you know? So I think that's a beautiful message to emphasize. And yeah, so I'll just put that up in case anybody wants to see that reading in its entirety. It's not fun.
There's no way possible, like in Biden's America, it ain't looking good. Like all those things aren't looking good.
It's terrifying.
Like as far as policies and undoing of policies and whatnot. In a Trump America, for that to happen, even if everything in a fantasy dream world, I know a lot of people that would still be horrified of that. It really has to be done. And then the idea of another thing, the idea of it being done under the military as an American citizen is a very frightening prospect. Like being done under our own military, if an illegal election, because think about it, what's 4 more years? Whoever, let's say me and you run, we're the perfect candidates. We're going to run. We're going to change the world. Yeah. We're going to trust this voting system. It doesn't look like something has to be done in the in between. Like something has to be, yeah, something has to be fixed there. So how does that get fixed unless it's brought to light? And how does it get brought to light if not in a very uncomfortable way? Like truth hurts. That's what Lizzo says.
Yeah, in a forceful sort of way. Yeah. I mean, it's weird to me because like I feel like Trump could have taken over all of the networks and just like forced like a 24-hour repeat of the documentary of all the evidence, you know, and just force you like, this is all that's going to be on any radio and any TV for the next 3 days. You're gonna have to deal with it. Like, here's the evidence uninterrupted and factual. And like, he didn't do that. And I don't understand why, cause like you're saying, like, that's the only other option then is that the military does it. And then speaking of the military, like, how do you feel about this idea that they're going to be supposedly in Washington, D.C., like all wrapped up in fencing for the next, 8 months or something, like until September? 5 months, whatever.
I don't understand any of this. Are there dragons under the White House? What's happening in there? Like, what's happening in there?
What is happening?
I gotta know. I gotta know what kind of it's just
well,
if the good guys are winning, let's just go with like the glass all the way full. If the good guys are winning this fantasy reality that we live in now, get ready for dragons to fly out of the sky and your staff to be boom. And you're like, come on. I know. I just am like, what is going on behind the fence?
Yeah, because there was some weird video a while ago where there was like all these buses driving up over and over again all night long at like 2 a.m. and just people getting off buses and going in. I'm like, who are these people and where are they going? And it was after the military was already there. So it wasn't military. It was just like random people. I don't understand who that was. And we never found out as far as I know. And like some people are pointed out in the chat and, you know, elsewhere I've seen it too, is we don't even know if any of that is in Washington, D.C., right? Like, I mean, I think we know that there's fencing around the White House. We don't know where Joe Biden is. Or Kamala Harris is.
No, we haven't seen Joe Biden anywhere. Oh, Donald Trump did say one thing today on his speech. It was all taken care of on 12/21. That's when Joe Biden got the shot. He got the shot on 12/21. He got the shot. He said it like 6 times. Joe Biden got the shot on 12/21. That's when it was taken care of. Like some weird phrasing like that. That's not verbatim, but it's pretty close that I was just like, whoa, that seems like deep cause of something. And I've seen all sorts of crazy things about Joe Biden, but I haven't seen anything that I'm like, this looks like what a president does. This looks like a town hall, or this looks real, or this looks, you know, like where he's touring. And how much longer are we going to play the COVID game? Like, how much longer are we going to play we can't do anything or see anyone because of COVID? It's like, Florida seemed fine.
Yeah. Yeah. With all of this evidence that's unnecessary and people are still doing it. There's still people online who are like saying to me, of all people, like, everyone has to get their vaccines or else we're all going to be locked down for a lot longer. I'm like, they already told you that you get to stay locked down even if you get the vaccine. They said that. Nobody's saying that you get to be free after this, but you're just really delusional.
You still have to wear a mask. You still have to quarantine. You still you can't be around anyone. You still have to social distance. Like,
you can still get it and die, which is not.
I'm not playing. And then people are like, oh, well, I got COVID. And I'm like, how do you know you got COVID? Because you went and got tested for COVID. So I don't even believe you. Like, your brain's already broken because you went and got tested for COVID. So you'd believe whatever they told you because you were looking to get the COVID. So it doesn't even matter what's on that thing. And I lost my sense of taste. Yeah, that's usually what happens when you can't smell.
Every time. That's why I'm like, why do people pretend like this is a new symptom?
It drives me nuts.
Oh my God.
Like, anytime your allergies act up, you're like, oh, I can't taste anything today.
Every time.
People are broken brains. They have no memory. I'm so
confused about it. I mean, I thought I had no memory, but what it really comes down to is I don't have a lot of memory for details. But like, I remember the like generalities and the overarching principles and the connections and whatever. And like, I remember that every time I've ever been sick, I have no sense of taste. I don't get it. I don't know. I don't get it. And if I say that to most people, what are they going to say? That I'm a liar? They just don't remember. I don't know.
Well, this is different, Chaney. People die. That's usually what people. And my other favorite, when I'm at the grocery, because now that all the New Englanders are down in Florida for a season, if I'm at the grocery and there's a lot more masked people right now than there has been in a really long time.
Weird.
And I look around, I
Oh,
feel
'cause of
like
them.
Tom Cruise in Eyes Wide Shut. It's like I'm the only one without a mask on, and they're all in masks. Like I need like antlers or something to just go full out. But
You're about to see some crazy shit in the side room.
I know but I work at a really cool place
Good.
that's like maskless establishment, and it took me forever to get the job, but I feel like even financial security of having to lose that to stand your principles of whatever that is, that's how I feel about however long this might take. Gas might have to go up to $10 a gallon. They might have like whatever kind of stimulus check everyone's waiting on for their business to be closed is like this golden carrot. I'm like, it all kind of might have to get bleak for people, for them to do something about it. I hate it. I hate that for them, but you know, you can't save everyone, right?
Yeah, that's actually been my mantra for the week because I'm like, oh yeah, it's not my job to save everybody. Like this is the thing I've been dealing with and phrasing in different ways for years until I finally get it. But you know, it's cyclical. But that like it just reminds me of the epic like end of the world battle, you know, and if you're looking at it from the Christian lens or any lens of the end of the world battle, like it's good and it's evil and like the whole, and when you really get down to it, you're like, well, why the fuck are these gods making this happen if it's so fucking bad? Like just get over yourselves already or whatever it is. And in the end it always comes down to this idea that like humans have to be brought to this precipice so that they have to choose finally once and for all, like, yes, I'm going to take responsibility for myself and live a good, true, and beautiful life and like know that it's in connection with everything or it dies, or no, I'm going to go be evil and like everything can fuck off and I'm going to take what I can from whatever I can and self-serving and, you know, independent sort of like disconnectedness. And like that's interesting to me because when you're saying like for some people maybe it has to get a lot worse, maybe there's something to that that's not as apocalyptic as like a lot of the stories and religions kind of make it seem, but is something that like all of us have to go through internally until there's like critical mass of people who finally got it. Like, okay, fuck, I don't want to live like that. I have to like get real about this and be conscious about it and intentional about it.
It's like so many people, if you got $1 million tomorrow, so many people would do so much great, amazing things. And so many people would just try to get by. But so many people, if they would have gotten that money 400 days ago, it would have just been what? A new car, some clothes, everybody. But now it's like this 400 days later. I think the world would change significantly different if everybody else got that same gift. You know, it's like,
Yeah.
I think everybody's head, even though it seems there's been a lot of sorrow and a lot of shadow work and a lot of like just endings and beginnings. And it's just been the weirdest year. I kind of felt like it was almost impossible to grow this much at this age.
How old are you, if you want to say?
43.
Oh, wow. You look like you're like 32.
Woo!
You're amazing. I totally get it though. I actually think that's one of the times of your life where you're supposed to transform the most, unless you're like gonna stay in your stagnancy. It's kind of that good versus evil thing. You're like either gonna like go deeper into your delusion or you're gonna be like, fuck this shit. Like none of that works anymore. Let's like get real.
And there's no going back. Like, you know, that whole red pill, blue pill, no one ever except Joe Rogan, no one ever unpills.
Someone in the chat is asking, do you know that the flag behind you is a Mandela effect residue? The white line is under the blue now. I don't know what that means. I mean, I get the point that the flag has changed apparently and that it used to be something else. You told me what that flag meant once, but I forgot.
This is the civilian flag of peacetime. It's a total, probably not only Mandela effect. It's like, some people say it was just written about in fiction, but I think all the truth is just written about in fiction and all the news is fake. So this is, if we weren't under a corporate ownership of a country and not in war with anything, this would be a flag that a civilian would fly that didn't serve under, you know, any branch. So it would be free. and sovereign. And I like it. I like the idea of it. So now it's real.
Yes.
Because I'm magic.
No, you're absolutely right that fiction is the best way to get actual truths across. And I love that idea of that flag. And I've heard that before too, that we are, have been at war and basically under foreign occupation for hundreds of years. Like maybe not much of the United States history is even, has any sort of freedom and autonomy at all. Maybe it never did.
That's what some people think. The troops are just standing down on a foreign land right now that just happens to be surrounded by 50 United States, but the District of Columbia is not part of the United States. So all these troops funneling in, it would panic people if Trump would have done it and everybody saw 80,000 troops or whatever they said at one time was standing down in Washington, D.C. But if Biden does it for some reason, it's just not as frightening. And they were all still funneled into the same place. So who knows what's going down? It's still, all of it seems ludicrous.
Yeah.
All of it seems, and why does Jennifer Beals look like Kamala Harris?
Yeah. No, you said that and I was like, holy shit, it does. Because they have the same clone stock that they draw from because their silly bloodlines have been inbred for too long. And so they have to like genetically manipulate them to try to freshen them up or something.
That is true. Jennifer Beals has a better neck than Kamala. Kamala has a thick neck on her.
Yeah.
That girl got a thick neck.
Dude, but remember when Beyonce had her demon come out in the Super Bowl and her neck got thick too? That's fucking weird. I didn't.
You are so right.
Yeah.
Sasha Fierce neck.
Dude, that was creepy. I don't know if everyone out there has seen that, but I had to watch it like 500 times to be like, am I fooling myself? I'm like, no, that motherfucking demon came out. Like,
man, she had a backup dancer accuse her of witchcraft and like killing her animal or something too. Like it's some whole big Beyonce story that you could definitely find. Like it was in all these magazines and stuff. And it was somebody that was like her backup dancer for like 15 years. Like not somebody that was just like trying to get some fame thing. Like they were somebody around.
And like, yeah, exactly. Because if you've been around that long, like you don't need to just like suddenly jump into the fucking fray and make up some shit that's going to make you look like an idiot to most people. And only the discerning will be like, I wonder if that's true. What's the merit of the argument or whatever? It's very rare. So of course you're going to only say that, I think, if you really, really feel like it's true. And I've shared this before and it's just like, you have to take my word for it or not. But I had this random girl that I met who, it was like my boyfriend's brother's girlfriend years before was like visiting and they were still close friends or whatever. Just one of those people who you can tell is like very honest and normal. I don't know how else to put it. And she all of a sudden literally had no idea I was like into conspiracy theories or anything like this. And it was actually the first time I've ever even had heard of celebrities being into Satanism or witchcraft or any of this stuff. But she just all of a sudden was like, yeah, I had a friend who toured with Jay-Z, because we were talking about like how unlikely it was to be famous as a musician, because she was a musician and the old ex-boyfriend was a musician and he has some fame and notoriety and she doesn't have any. And we were just talking about like the chances of fate. And she's like saying that one of her friends had traveled with Jay-Z and whatever, as some kind of roadie or what, I don't even fucking know. And she's like, yeah, it was really weird because he came back just so freaked out and weirded out and he wanted to keep doing it or whatever because like there's money and you get some sort of closeness to that world or whatever, but that like every single show they had to pray to Satan. And I was like, what? Like, huh? Like nothing could make me pray to Satan, but like I guess some people are easily like like, I don't know, I guess we're praying to Satan now. It's not going to be a big deal, I guess. I'm just like, holy shit. So, Jay-Z prays to Satan. I was
just reading something like in the last few nights, like with the Canaanites and when they pray to Moloch, and there's like a saying. Shit, I read so many different weird Bibles and different weird religious books. When there's something about crickets, like if they kill 6 crickets and do it in the name of Moloch, like the spirit leaves your body, like good soul like leaves your body, but the amount of power that you get like when you call on those forces is like, yeah. And just to do it with 6 crickets, imagine what level they say some people are doing this shit at. Jesus. I just think there's really dark energy. I think I don't know, I think all of it's real. I think we're living in True Blood season 3.
Yeah. For real.
Have you watched the OA?
Yes, it's like my favorite show in the world. I know,
I love it.
I do too. It's so
I think
good.
we're the OA season 3.
Yeah. Dude, I wish they would make a season 3, and I did not expect to like season 2 as much as I did, but like part of what I loved about season 1 is and I don't know, we're not going to get into details about it, but like there's parts of that show where I'm like, holy shit, this has happened to me, and I would have never.
Me too.
Really, and I would have
Me too.
never expected anyone else in the world to like understand it, and here it is in this show. Like that shit's real. You too.
Yeah, there's so many parts of it that resonated so hard with me that it was like almost gave me heart palpitations when I was
Yeah.
like, I had to sit up and watch it. Like I don't know, it was so odd. And I don't know, it just really resonates even down to their death and learning how to, I don't know, I don't want to give any of it away.
I know, it's so
I don't-
good.
It's such a good show. And I think anyone who watches it, what they're going to take from it is going to add to like a conversation later on that is really next level. It's done in a way. I had a good friend of mine try to get me to watch it since like 2016, and I tried to watch the first episode. I don't know why I didn't get into it. I wasn't ready.
It's not
I wasn't
a
ready.
great first episode. You have no idea what the show's going to contain based on it, you know? Like it's very
Yeah, I don't think my head was ready. I don't think my spirit was ready for it. I would have just watched it like from a different perspective, from my masculine brain and not my feminine heart.
And I love too that it's like just all the symbolism and layers and layers and layers of it. Like I think you could write theses just on this show. But even as simple as like the OA being the omega and the alpha, it's like the entirety of everything, but like reversed. And I sort of feel like that's like where we are in this plane, right? Like you were saying about their death, and anyone who's watched it knows what we mean, like where they go or whatever, what happens when they die. Like that's the real truth. And this is just like a weird little trap. It's like the reverse. We think it's very real and we think that's sort of like the other place, but like this is the other place, I think.
I do too. I think I kind of live I do. I don't dream so much. I have been dreaming more. I've been grasping more parts of my dream when I wake up, and if I write them down, I'm finding I won't remember it later. So I'm so glad I wrote whatever little bit or typed it to somebody like, oh, I had a weird dream last night. Because otherwise I wouldn't have it at all. It's almost like somebody asking you about it later. You're like, oh yeah, that did happen. But my waking life is so weird. And I just look up that stuff in dream dictionaries, like my real life. Like I drove today past a dead dove, a dead white dove. And I'm like, have I ever seen a white dove not in a magic show? And like, it was a whole thing. So I just wanted to like, what's it mean to drive by a dead white dove, you know? And, what else happened? I had some other, oh yeah, this is the weirdest one. So I was sitting outside and I just laid on my sidewalk. I have steps up the front of my house, and I just laid back and I was like laying in the sun, chatting with people in a chat room, but I wasn't really saying anything. And I had a ginger ale and I sipped it a few times and went inside and sipped it and was chatting. And then I heard my can through my earphones, like, I was like, what is that? It's like my can's electric. And a bee crawled out of my can.
Oh,
like I was just sitting there drinking a canopy. But I put it outside and it got out. But I was just like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad I didn't end up with a bee in my mouth. And it lived, it flew away.
Oh,
So
happy bee.
yeah, I had
That's
to look it up.
crazy.
Like, what's it mean to dream of drinking a bee?
Yeah.
You can't find. Like,
Well, I just like can picture the can buzzing, and in my brain I'd be like, all of reality is starting to disintegrate. This is it. And it's just a bee in a fucking can. You're like, you gotta calm down. Yeah.
that'd be so great.
I do. I think it's so important to write down your dreams because and like it's the easiest thing to start doing. If you just like, if you have an alarm clock and you wake up to an alarm clock, your alarm can say, write down your dream. If you don't wake up to an alarm clock or have an alarm clock, you can have like a pen and paper next to your bed so you can remember to do it when you wake up. Whatever it takes, just do it, because you will start having more intense dreams. You'll remember more of it and you can get shit out of it. But my weirdest dream lately was this. I had this student who very sadly died, and she was one of the very few students who I would have thought of as like kind of a friend, which is actually very inappropriate, and I don't like that when teachers do that, but I couldn't help it because she was so awesome. She was like a super old soul or something, like she was just awesome. So as much as a student could be, which is not very much, she was like an actual like friend of mine, and she died, and so it was really, really sad for me, and as it would be anyway if a student died, but like more so for her. And so I just was really like fucked up about it for a while. And the other night I had a dream that she was there, and I was like, holy shit. I was like, Lorena. And she was like, yeah. And I was like, you're dead. She was like, I know. I was like, how are you here then? And she was like, and I was like, oh, is this a dream? And she was like, and she was kind of trying to like get away at that point. Like, this is getting too weird for me even or something. But it was weird because this is one of the only times in my life. First of all, it's always good to see someone who's passed on. So I like that about some dreams. So that was cool. But like, this is one of the only dreams in my life where I've acknowledged I'm dreaming, but neither gone lucid nor woken up. I just continued on with the dream. Like after that, like it was just very weird. I woke up, I'm like, how did I not?
What would be the difference of acknowledging and not lucid?
I guess in a lucid dream, I would acknowledge and then be like, oh, dude, I'm going to fucking fly around. I'm going to like go figure out what it's like to do this. I'm going to go to a pyramid, like, you know, and that I was just like.
Do you astral travel?
I know that I do and have, but I'm not like what people would. I can't do it like intentionally on purpose, and I don't like complete missions or whatever people do.
Have you ever had dragons in your dreams?
That's a really good question. I would have to think more. Not that I can think of.
Have you ever had blood in your dream?
Yeah.
I heard that a blood in your dream is a washing away. Like it actually like undoes a spell. Like it's a rinsing. Isn't that weird?
That's very interesting. One of my original crazy dreams when I was a child that like initiated me into the idea that dreams were fucking nuts and really weird. I was like attacked in a dark wood by a pack of wolves who ripped me apart, and then I floated out of my body and turned around and looked down at my dead body and was like, what the fuck? And I woke up and I like told my sister, I was like, am I going insane? And I was like 12 or something, and she was like, no, dude, being eaten by any animal is like a huge honor. So now you're telling me this, and I'm like, I wonder if that was just like a like letting go of like an old self, like washing away in blood, and then the wolves like did that for me, you know. That was the honor.
And I feel like wolves would be a very specific thing to dream about as well. Like they would represent something. I know dogs, I want to say dogs represent friends in dreams, but you almost don't even know what representation is allowed to go through, or if it's a dream interpreter or actually you.
Yeah. Well, that's what, like, if I'm teaching, it's the same with like spirituality for me as dream stuff, where like you can look in a dream dictionary and I'm sure it can give you insight. And a lot of it comes from our cultural context, which we all are from too. So it makes sense that there would be crossover. But at the same time, like I know when I see, I don't know if I'm able to think of a specific example, but something like to me that means this, but to you that's going to mean something else. So if we were able to share that same dream and I look at it and I see like, I don't know, a salamander or something, and you look at it and you see like a little fire, but it's the same like thing. It's the same energy. We just like are processing it differently.
I'm like, I dreamed of you last night, but it wasn't you, but it was you.
Yeah.
It's like, it wasn't you. You had long blonde hair and you were like a 7 foot tall, whatever, but it was you. Yeah. And you're like, oh, okay. Because in dream world, you just accept that something else could have your essence.
Yeah, or you're like, it was this place, but it wasn't that place. But it was that place.
Yeah, it was my old house, but it was different.
Do you have dreamscapes? Do you have like the same locations you go back to in dreams over and over again?
Only one. Well, I have this ocean curling, reoccurring dream of like sharks swimming through the waves. And I'm usually standing there with my brother. That hasn't been in a really long time, but that was a reoccurring like beachy scene. And that was when somebody asked me if I dreamed in color. I could definitely picture that in full color, that I was like, yeah, I know that scene was. But then I have this like my grandparents' old summer home. It must have just felt really safe. But I almost, when I would night terror when I was a kid, almost in lucid dream, I could pull on this place, but I would have to hike through something to get there. It wasn't easy to ever get there, but I could get myself there, and then it was safety, like light almost.
Yeah.
But yeah,
this is like a concept that people have, that these locations actually exist in that realm, you know? So like that location for you is actually protected. And you know, if you go there, none of the night terror causing entities or whatever can like get you.
I know. I was trying to, and not that I even want to will anything. It's so different, the idea of a bad dream now, like that fear in a dream. The, the last time I felt real fear in a dream, I witnessed one of my friends, for whatever reason, they were venting about somebody. And then they were like, come with me. And they were driving somewhere and they were like, come in here. And we walked in some house. And I actually remember all these details about it, that or whatever. But I watched them kill someone and
Oh
I was
God.
like, oh my gosh. And I was horrified. And I felt like my life was ruined because I couldn't snitch on my friend. And I felt like because they vented to me the day before about this person and then I drove with them and wasn't aware, but now I had this like heavy secret. And so eventually it weighed so much on me. I went to the cops and I was like, I killed someone because I didn't know any other way out of
Oh.
it. But I just had to, no, it was like not even a taking the murder. It was like my guilt was so heavy of this murder that I just wanted to somehow get out from the weight of it. In my dream, this is
Yeah.
a few years ago, but I remember just being like so weighted.
That's like the last bad dream you had.
Yeah, like really bad. It wasn't like a monster. It was like, how do I was a part of this and I wasn't like a best friend, but it was like I mean, if it was anyone, but I just felt like somehow I was involved in this murder. And I couldn't say that this person did this. I don't know. It was so stupid, but seemed like a long dream too. Like, this is the never ending dream.
It's weird. Like I don't want to jinx myself, but like I can't have bad dreams anymore because when something bad happens in my dream, it alerts me that it's a dream because I'm like, oh yeah, no, like we're not doing that right now. And it's the same thing where I don't go full lucid where I just start controlling the dream. I'm just like, gonna like move over.
What's
here.
your superpower?
Well, I don't have a superpower in a dream if that's what you're asking, but when I first had to pick what my superpower would be if I had a superpower, it was Salamander Fury, which is a completely pointless superpower. The whole Salamander Fury really is just that you can instantly make salamanders appear everywhere on every surface. So like if you're trying to get away, it'll distract everybody. If it's a bad guy, they're just like covered in salamanders and they're like, ew, gross.
Everyone, it would stop anything.
Yeah. So that's my
Stop
superpower.
anything. Wow, that is a good one.
Salamander Fury. What's yours?
I heard, or in real dreams, I feel like stairs are nothing for me. For some reason, I just feel like, oh, I want to be on floor 2. I'm on floor 3. Like, yeah, I kind of quickly, and no matter if it's AI or aliens or whatever is going on, I feel like I understand some plan, like that. I'm like, we have to do this. But I'm not fast or strong, or I can't fly. I have none of the great superpowers.
But you
like,
can instantly move to a new location.
Yeah, but they always seem like, I don't know if they're great locations. It's always like part of a journey, like part of I'm always on a mission in my dreams. It always seems like a mission.
I think for me at least, and for some of the people chatting right now in the chat, I think like we actually are doing missions at night in our astral form or whatever. And we are, like pulling shit off. And that is maybe why sometimes we're like, oh, okay, I gotta like go over there and do the thing. Okay, I'm doing the thing. And I think some dreams are just dreams. And I think some dreams are like power dreams with like significant psychological meaning, or, our subconscious like expressing itself. And I think some dreams are us doing work, like doing things. I don't want to say work because that makes it sound really awful, but accomplishing things on a spiritual level.
I have a friend that in the astral, she fights dragons, and it's like crystal. And I have a friend who like meets it's funny how my human brain like treated it like a boardroom, but I guess just like meets spirits in like a meditation plane maybe. I don't know. It all seems
it's
fantastical.
I think it's real. Like sometime sort of recently, not too long ago, I finally made it to because like I said, like sometimes I'm lucid and sometimes I'm whatever. I think there's all kinds of shit going on, but like I made it to like the like Akashic record or whatever, if that's what you're gonna call it. It's not what I was calling it in my head. I was like, I finally made it to like the Universal Library, and I like threw open the door. And I was like, oh my god! And I was like grabbing people and just like hugging them and crying, and they were like, holy shit! They were like looking at each other. They were like, is this anyone's? Like, how did she get here? And I was like, this is amazing. And I didn't do anything there because I was just so excited to be there.
So excited to be there. You didn't pick up a book.
Yeah. I didn't ask a question. I didn't do anything. I just like freaked out and like got so overwhelmed that I think they probably like kicked me out and sent me back to my body. They were like, you're annoying.
I can't believe that. I've talked to a few people about the Akashic records that have been there. And I just think this is crazy to me. This is pretty amazing. Like getting to a point in a dream of that, of like knowing that's a DMT trip or something.
Well, maybe in a DMT trip, I'd be more likely to be able to like organize my fucking self and keep control of my.
It's like Adderall or dreams.
Yeah. Well, like acid.
That was just your first visit.
Yeah, I hope so. I know. Well,
no, for sure.
I'm like, what? I can always come up with questions, but I feel like faced with literally infinite answers, I might get like just stumped. Like, what would I ask? What would I go looking for?
My first question that I asked the Aether was, I wish I were a bird. It wasn't even a question. It was like this, like really silly. But it was kind of a question. It was kind of like, why am I not a bird?
How am I not a bird if I want this?
Yeah, but it was in my stupid grunt inside my brain. Was just those words. But I felt like it got it. It got what I was doing, the gist. But it was kind of like a pat on the head of kind of like you're saying, like they kicked you back to your body. It was just like, oh, why do you want to be a bird? You're like a beautiful, strong human. Like a bird? Like almost like it seemed absurd, but not in a way that it was mocking. Almost like in a way a mother would just think a kid question was cute.
Yeah. What do you mean when you ask the Aether?
I feel like the first time I did DMT twice in my life, almost a decade apart. And the first time I felt like I hung out with the Aether, and the second time I feel like I became the Aether.
You had the just experience of knowing and being like everything and everywhere.
The first time it just was so kind and feminine, and the second time it was just it was very strong but just lonely. It was just lonely. That's just what I think we're doing. I think somehow as a whole, yeah, we're becoming God, but maybe we're becoming like the companion of God. Maybe us in our whole being, we really knew love somewhere. If it's all Ouroboros, your love this lifetime, when you become God, you are so desperate to create that sensation again. It would take forever for you to mold a being that understands what it's like to love to the depth of humans. Like, think of how many different animals and trees and sunsets and storms and just everything that you'd have to give them to get them to have, and births and deaths and families and I don't know, maybe even plagues. Like, think of how much you'd have to give them to really get them to feel the depths of their heart that it would take to secure that when they are supposed to be the Ouroboros of God, they push themselves out of the darkness to create the companion.
Wow. I love
like,
that.
We almost all have to do it for each other.
Yeah. It's like you have to do it for yourself, and that way everyone can do it for themselves too, so that you can do it together.
Yeah, it's not a worship. It's not a religion. It's not like a dude in the sky with a beard. It's like you and me. And then something so great, what happened between us and our kind of breaking the matrix of just being vulnerable and maybe a little uncomfortable, and maybe like totally forgetting that we're vulnerable and uncomfortable sometimes too. And that breaks the matrix in a way that changes it, that it's never been done before, or it's maybe been done 1,000 times, but differently. And I just got to think, I just don't accept this reality. I don't care if it's silly, but this is not, I'm not signed up to Joe Biden's America. I don't build anything back better. I build it right the first time.
Yeah.
I
Don't
don't know.
speak in codes.
No, so this is silly time. We control this whole entire simulation.
I really, really, I think it becomes obvious if you look deeply enough at the ways in which they have to control us. You know, it's like, well, you wouldn't fucking work this hard if you could just shoot some of us and just like stick us in some camps and like that was the end of it. Like, you have to convince us that this is the only way, and to give up our power, and to like not believe in ourselves, to abandon our spiritual connections, to abandon our connection to the earth, all of that. And still there are people who see through it and are building something different and better. So like, clearly we're very powerful beings and are in absolute control of this space. You know, we have dominion over it, some might say. But I love too that you brought up like it's not a worship thing. And it's interesting. It's come up on this show before. We did, I don't remember what episode, but we talked about like worshiping and some other word that people are comfortable with that I can't remember at the moment. But it has to do with like giving up your the way people look at it is that you're like
deifying.
Giving up. It's like that, yeah. And you're like making yourself lower than, and you're making other people above you, and you're like giving up something of your sovereignty or autonomy or something. But I don't know what made me even do it, but I just went and looked up the word worship, and I looked into the etymology of it. And, you know, our idea of worship is that, but the actual meaning of it is just a worthy ship. And I was like, oh, worship was only ever actually meant to be like, you're cool. That's cool. I'll align with this over here. It's worthy. Like, that's worthy of me, you know? And like, we turned it into this totally other thing. And it made me like have this whole new concept of, well, it's not a new concept for me, but it's a more comfortable like realization that I think it used to be like this, that gods weren't this like, holy shit, they're amazing, they're above us, or spiritual entities, or like whatever you want to call any of that shit, is not this thing that like feels like it's above you, and you don't have to worship it like grovel. You just have to be like, okay, well, that one's worthy and this one's that one finds me worthy, I find it worthy, okay, cool, we're in alignment, like we can work together. I don't know, it's just a lot more like rational and grounded. Like, I don't think all that shit is like better than us, beyond us. I think it's like you said, I think we're in control of this, we're very powerful beings, and I think there are spiritual entities, and I think they're just the same as us in almost every way. They're just living in a different like space.
I know, and maybe we're them, like you. I love, we are obviously something so special because they are doing everything they can and still can't kill us off. Like we're baby's kids. Like, we don't die, we multiply. Like, they are like putting like metals in our deodorant and every single product they make for us. They're spraying with things. They're like filling our animals with plastics and oil. They're putting shit clothing on us that is like the cheapest of, like, it's not even like real. It's so synthetic. Yeah, they're putting pharmaceuticals in us. They're sticking needles in pregnant babies, like before they even come out. Like, the amount of stuff that they are doing to us from before birth to our grandmothers while our eggs are growing in utero.
Yeah.
They are fucking with us. And we're so magic still that people are still coming together. People are still finding the will to like get up every day and shower off yesterday, and it's a full moon, to still like, fuck Mercury retrograde.
Yeah.
Like, to just have a little, to be able to get a laugh, to be able to pull it together, even if they have to watch their shitty TV show and just can tune off and tune out for whatever they need to for a minute. I'm all about intention, but I also am I just want people to kind of worship where they're at in the world. Like, I think everyone's so fucking hard on themselves.
Yeah.
They're just so like, gosh, you know, like, you meditate once. It's funny. Someone meditates once and thinks they're the Messiah, like thinks they're like walking on water. And then there's people like doing the deep spiritual every practice. Day. Yeah. Even if it's little, they're pulling out the door, you know, opening the door for everyone. They're helping every old lady. They're like thankless all day, every day. And then they're treating themselves mentally like shit, you know, taking care of everyone around them, like just being like this middle of a pillar for their family. I don't know. And it's just rough, it's a rough life out there.
Yeah.
And
If
they're
you
being shitty to themselves.
if you've made it this far, you're doing amazing. Like, like you're saying, like you have to give yourself more credit for what's going on and how you're responding to it and like the energy you're holding here, because that alone is amazing. And you said it earlier, we kind of like alluded to it at least, that like, and I say it too in the tarot reading, you guys are gonna have to go watch this later, but like that you're literally the one. You're the chosen one. If you're listening to this, you're the chosen one. Like, it's your job. You're not the only chosen one, but like it's your job, because everyone else is like not seeing it at all, or not even capable of responding to it or reacting to it at all, and like kind of like gone and checked out. And so you're here like seeing this all, and I don't think there's any like magic steps next except what you said. Like, just go do whatever it is your heart is calling you to do. Like, make a piece of art, make a podcast, talk to your neighbor, like buy healthy groceries that you like, or whatever it is, just keep doing that, because you're here, and that's already a kick-ass job you've done. And you're one of the few.
And don't plan your life for fear. Stop planning your whole life around the fear narrative. Start planning your life around love. And I believe everything will provide. It's just, for myself, no matter how much money, like the idea of fear just got bigger, because now it's like, now you have insurance, or the car is nice, or the 401k, or the house becomes more expensive, or now your kids need private classes, or your, groceries become a little more expensive because now you know more about organic food, and how could you even eat that other stuff? It becomes like this whole thing, and you're just eating out of fear now. You're living out of fear. And I just think, you know what? You might be shopping at Walmart every day, watching Roseanne reruns, but you can live out of love. And I think transmute all the energy in your body. You might have every vaccine up until yesterday, but I think you can change all that. We're obviously magic.
Oh yeah.
We're so powerful that look at how they can't control us still.
Yes.
Like, they'd put us all into the camps if they could.
Absolutely.
Something's going on. They'd put me and you would be in the camps if they could.
See, and this is an example of like where I think dream work, that I had this dream that I was in a camp, and I was looking out past the camp, and I knew there was a river over there, and I knew there was this, and I could see this old like rock wall full of like ancient carvings on it of like the faces of our grandfathers or something. And people were like, why are you staring over there? And I was like, because there's the river over there. And they're like, you can't get to it. And I'm like, we have to remember though. Like, we have to know that that's over there. And we have to like not forget and stay connected to it, basically. Someone in the chat right now was just talking about like they feel like they've been remote viewing and doing dream work for a few weeks or something, and that it's been pretty wild. Well, I like posted that dream, and they showed up and were like, dude, my husband had that same dream last night. And I'm like, I think we're like out there like preventing certain outcomes, and like putting certain energy in certain places and certain minds at the right time to like undo some of this shit, like we were talking about, that fucking grand knot of shit that has been all woven up. And like you say, I think we can actually undo anything. Like, I don't think that you can, like you said, like you could get all the vaccines even, and I think you could still like transmute that shit out of you. Like, I think we can do it. I think we're doing it.
We can too. I think we can. I refuse to accept anything less than we win this time. Like, I refuse to accept anything less. And I think it would be silly to think it's going to be on some hour-and-a-half movie perfect timeline. There's so many shadows in ourselves. Like, I'm speaking for myself personally. I still have so much shadow work to do. If like you're the ugliness you see in the world, like we are not done yet, everyone. I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Sorry. Like Nasara Jasara is not going to be tomorrow. I got some shadow work to do. Yeah, I just think it is like micro, macro levels of change. And the more you I'd like to think even elevate somewhere, not in a way of trying to be egoic, but I'd like to think, I think it's the Buddhist quote that a man only knows he's really being violent to you if you stop hitting him back. And that's broken and totally put into my things, and I'm giving credit maybe to Buddha, where somebody's gonna be like,
it's like Pope John Paul or something.
Yeah, but sometimes I feel like that in an argument, maybe it's like we're spending so much time. I hear people like, we need to wake people. We need to wake people. We need to wake people. I just feel like I'm kind of at a place now too, where I'm like, maybe we save some people's innocence and don't need to wake them. Maybe they just can stay asleep and hold on. Come here, little dog.
There's a little puppy.
Yeah, now, yeah, Teeny, my dog.
Teeny ran away.
But yeah, I was like, all right, get down. She'll like, she'll totally be up there. She'll take over this whole scene.
Yeah, like actually, let me tell you some
Hi,
things.
hi.
I love it.
But I know, and my train of thought, but it was whatever.
No, I think you're
I
right too. And another concept that comes from Buddha and other spiritual masters is the idea of, saving yourself and therefore saving the world. And I think that there's something, actually, I just don't think it's just a nice saying. Like, it's like all the 100th monkey thing and the fact that like anytime we do something, everyone can suddenly do it. And I just think when you create this inside of yourself, you're giving everyone access to that same ability or level. And so there really is directly changing and affecting the world for you to just like change and affect yourself. So even, I love this quote. It's something like, if you save only one person, it's okay if that's yourself. And I'm like, you should save just yourself. And then it may be after that you could try to save some other people, whatever, but like, don't even worry about that. Like, just worry about you. And it goes back to that same idea that you are a very powerful being and you're here doing some shit that's rad. So keep doing it.
And they tell you all the time where, there's, when you're pointing out the negative shit in other people, it's usually shit you see in yourself. Yeah. And they always say that. And it's like, yeah. And that's true about the good stuff too.
Yeah.
Like all the people you admire and all the shit you love about them, you have that in you. And it is like begging for you to say it. It want you like, be the hero you seek. Yeah. Like change it. I love that. Like you are LARPing. This is live action role play. That is what we're all doing right now. That's we are in our own movie. Like take part in your movie. What do you want your character to be? Like you're Ready Player One. Build your avatar. What do you want to do? You want to save the world? How do you save the world? Like you can do it. You're allowed to.
Yes. And dream like the wildest way. And like you said, how do you want to do it? Dream it. Like just like imagine it. And I don't know. I think that is a level of intention that like people maybe have like cut off from themselves, because we're still on this level where people are like starting to do intention and they're like, I would like more money this month. And they're like, dude, let's like blow all these barriers away. Let's be like, I'm gonna have abundance for the rest of eternity. Done. I know. I hear people, I want med beds, and I'm like, what? I don't get sick in my new reality. Yeah. I don't need a med bed. I'm like, I don't even poop in the future. Yes. What are you talking about? Only the energy I need comes in. I know. I eat the sun. What are you talking about? That's awesome. I'm sorry to end it on that fun thing. It or not, I don't know, but I'm like, that seems like we're in a world of anal swabs apparently, so it's not bad to talk about butts and poop. I'm like, I love that like China was like, no, we did not like mistakenly anal swab your cabinet members or whatever. They totally agreed to it. I'm like, well, yeah, they would, because they would probably have convinced themselves that they're racist if they don't let China anally swab their asshole. Like, something ridiculous like that. You're like, I don't know. That's crazy to me. It's crazy to me. It's crazy that China and the U.S. are having talks about like who anal swabbed who inappropriately. I don't want to even think about. I don't like. You know what though? I've seen that swab in the nose, and I have a nose thing. I don't like people touching my nose. Like even talking about it kind of makes me like. I might take the anal swab over getting it stuck in my nose if I was forced to have to choose between one or the other. I totally get that. No, yeah. In this way, they're kind of like accessing your brain and shit. I mean, both are bad, right? In your anus, you have this like the vagus nerve control mechanism, basically, and you can like mind control people there. But then here, you can access their brain and like maybe lobotomize them. So I'm not sure which one is worse. They're both pretty bad. If I had to choose that, my line will be so much shorter. The anal swab line, I'll be like, hi over there. Like lobotomy or mind control. They're like, what's up with her? She's a weirdo. And I'd be like, I have a nose thing. Yeah. I think about that though too. I'm like, is this like lobotomy, mind control up the ass, mind control that they're both the same difference in the end, right? Both of them are your mental capacities are now like controlled or diminished to some extent. And
As
I'm like,
above, so below.
yeah. And I'm like, is that the whole game? Like, was the testing more than any of the other shit that's coming along, or as much as the other shit that's coming along? I don't know.
I'm trying to transmute the vaccine, like all the vaccine. Can we make it so all the calcium, if you're in line and getting a bunch of vaccine and getting tested every other week, you're are losing a little bit of your free will or whatever that means. You're like, you're not attached to your divinity somewhere. So what if it was some kind of potion, elixir to help? It was zinc and vitamin D or whatever we were told, that hydroxychloroquine.
That's not allowed.
Like, yeah, whatever, tonic water, saline solution.
And it gets you back in touch, actually.
Yeah.
Dude, I like that.
Because saline salt melts metal. So if they're trying to put metal in us, why not just salt water, like fresh Florida water? Wouldn't that be funny? It was all Florida water inside the...
It's just a way to spread the Florida man phenomenon to
Florida
the whole world. Man. Somebody in the chat is asking, Israel, who was very excited for this tonight, and am glad that he made it here. I'm assuming you're a he. I have no idea. But is Idiocalypse still a thing? Which is a great question. I haven't seen any new videos for a while.
It really isn't. I think it might be a thing. I think Jonathan might still be doing it. I don't do it any longer. I might, I haven't really talked to Jonathan about it in some time. It is, yeah, it was a thing for me for a period of time. I think I said it. I think I liked that it was a fun dinner party that I didn't feel a part of anymore. And I like to Irish goodbye out of the room. Like, I don't like a long Southern goodbye at the door for an hour and a half. I just kind of,
I'm done. Bye.
I think I wasn't feeling it for a few episodes, and I don't necessarily I didn't really have the words because emotionally it was just weird. I don't necessarily am not in love with the way I left, but I don't regret so much in my life that it is what it is. It definitely isn't the hottest bridge I've ever lit on fire behind me and walked away from. It is what it is. I'm actually impressed with the lack. Usually my scorpion self, when I just start, like my tail starts waving, but I didn't feel, for me, I felt like, oh, wow, that was a lot of growth that you just kind of walked away. And Jonathan's amazing and everyone's fantastic. I don't know quite, I don't know quite what the next step is, but I needed to change the chemicals a little bit in the beaker for myself. And I've been on a spiritual weird one. I know you've kind of been a part of it a little bit here and there. That really, I realized that casting a podcast was maybe a lot of responsibility in 3D world and in 4D world, and I needed to be fully aware of what I was doing, and it was kind of intoxicating in some ends and then really connected to source on other ends. And it was these two kind of battles that were going on in me, and doing it in such a public forum like that, I was losing my own grasp on even the people that I considered real friends in my life, and then what was friends on air. It was kind of it was blurring these two realities of like like my third dimensional life, and then this like weird COVID world we're all living in, where it's like you're so close to there, you know. So it was a big, huge polar shift, the Idiocalypse in my life. But it was all after DC and the election. And so that's kind of the long and short of it, and where I'm at. I don't even know if that's an explanation.
It makes perfect sense to me, but I just like intuitively understand it, because maybe I'm just projecting onto it, I don't know, but like for me, for Rogue Ways at least, like I've had people over the years who have been like, oh hey, like wouldn't it be so cool if I could be your like co-host or whatever, and I'm always very honored, and it's always really awesome people who would make great co-hosts, but I'm like, not even a control freak about it. I'm just like, I have a really specific thing I'm doing, and it's like really intentional, and everything, every guest I have, every episode I do, I'm not saying it's like all perfect or whatever, but like I'm purposely creating this, like you said, as like I'm casting it out there. I'm not trying to put anyone under a spell, but I'm like trying to influence the energy of the world in a very specific way, and anyone else coming into that would make it super unpredictable and really hard for me to know if I should add my energy to it or not, right? Like, it's totally different when you're going on someone else's show, because you're like, well, this isn't my real responsibility. My presenting myself or whatever I'm going to present here is, and then it's over, right? But like when it's your show, it's all your responsibility. And like, how are you affecting the world? But like you said, more importantly, how is it affecting you? And especially if you're like having those polarizations. And I also have like, you know, pretty consistent intentions for myself within this, you know, like I don't want to lose my goals or myself or my grounding or whatever, and get like pulled into something that's like false or shallow. And I just think all of that would be so much harder to maintain if there were like multiple energies trying to direct the ship.
I think unpredictability, I definitely, somebody said of recent in my life, like maybe instead of the, you know, your head having a feminine and masculine, maybe your head's just all masculine and your heart's just all feminine, and your head protects your heart. And I think I lived my whole life inside my head, and maybe I was an empath and didn't even realize it. So when I felt that energy, it usually was anger or humor. It was one of those two things. I didn't allow it to affect me. And there was something about the show and just there was real powerful people on there. Now knowing what I know, like yourself included, in even a way of like shifts of my own energy happening in a way in such a public forum, then with an edit, and then no real time to reflect on it, and then also dealing with like censorship of the real world and all this other stuff going on. It was just like it was just, and it was live, which but it was just like it was a lot. I guess I was totally unaware of what I was getting into, and it was just more than I was ready for, and I wasn't aware of it yet.
Yeah.
And drinking, I think going through a spiritual thing, like I wasn't really drinking, so drinking on air and even like, you know, it was just the whole thing. It was super fun, but yeah, I am just in a place now. I want to have the most amount of fun, but I want to know when I'm having fun and then when I'm spiritual. Yeah. It's weird when the two were twisting for me. It was like a weird feeling, and then the weird processing of it afterward.
Yeah. Well, and you've been going through spiritual transformation, and it's like, I don't know, like you were describing once of just like, you just had to like keep taking the step forward when you were in DC or whatever, and like leaving and like knowing that things were just going to work out, but like how, who knows, but just keep going, and like doing that while also like that kind of energetic movement while also like drinking live on air with like all kinds of energies coming at you. And like, I don't know, I can't imagine that myself. And I quit drinking for a reason, and that's part of it. So I was like, well, I can't do all this shit I'm doing and drink at the same time. It's insane for me. But I'm not saying you're quitting drinking or whatever, but just I can see how that could get. I haven't drank in a while.
Yeah, I haven't drank in a while.
It's like
I needed a break.
Yeah, people like misunderestimate. I just fucking did that. I just said that word. People underestimate alcohol and its effect on us.
That's the feminine.
Yeah.
Misunderestimate.
George Bush, you bastard. But like, you know, because it's so acceptable and we all do it and it's fun, and like you can just like have a little bit and it's like just cool and chill and whatever, and then you can also like have like one more and be like fucked, and like the fucking energies are like controlling you now, and you're like doing all the shit you never would do, and it's like, whew, where was that line? Like it is just gone. Like it's very easy with alcohol, I think, to do that. And I don't know, I've said it a million times, so I'll say it again because we're talking about it in my 4-year sobriety birthday as coach. I don't really do like the AA thing, but my 4-year sobriety birthday is coming up in like 5 days or something. And 4 years? Yeah, 4 years. And the reason I quit was because Benjamin Balderson, the alchemist, said to me, you know what alcohol does, right? And I was like, what? And he was like, separates the spirit from the body. And I was like, I'm out. I never drank again. Like, he said that, and I literally never took another sip of any alcohol again, and I'm never going to, and I know it wasn't hard. I was just like, holy shit, that's true. Alchemically, that's what alcohol is for. Separate the spirit from the body of the plant material. And like, that's what it's doing to us when we're drinking it
yeah, you're in every level. Every level. It's the total alchemy of it is that's crazy heady.
Yeah. It like struck me to the core. I was like, that is the absolute truth. There's no other truth. That is the truth. As far as alcohol and bodies go, that's what it's doing. It's separating your soul. When you think about the times when you're trashed, you know it's true. You're like, my soul was not connected to that particular
you allow
night.
yourself to totally be open. You're allowing you allow something especially doing this when it works the best. Sometimes you feel like you get to plug into something higher than yourself. And sometimes you find yourself saying shit that you're like, I can't believe that came out of me. Mm-hmm. I need, like, oh my God, like you're taking it back and you can't take any credit for it. It's just something amazing because you plugged in. I allow myself to totally open up when I'm in convo and doing that. It's one of my favorite things in life, to just like relax and have like connect to somebody like that. With alcohol, you're almost opening up to a darker energy you're unaware of, but it's sitting in the room with you. You're allowing it to totally chill and just be like, you should say this, you should say that, and it's
people are gonna love it if you do this. Like, woohoo!
Yeah, everyone will laugh. Like, I know, or it's like, you should totally share this story, this is an appropriate time, and you're like, hey, share too much. But yeah, it's a tool. I do, if I'm in a crowd, I found like, oh my gosh, it totally lowers my vibe so I could not be so empathetic. But no, I need to learn how to control all the energies I'm feeling without the alcohol. And that's been what I'm playing with more, and I'm enjoying it.
Yeah.
It feels good.
And
hopefully not Lucy.
Yeah. And hopefully, I'm sure there might be people who don't need to be as extreme as me and could still like drink here and there, and like, but I just like, now I'm like, I can, but I do not know why I would. I don't even want to start to separate my soul from my body. It's like someone in the chat earlier said, like, I purposely don't astral travel because I don't want whatever's waiting to inhabit my body to have an access point. And I'm like, yeah, I'm with you, man.
Like a mirror. Like OA mirrors. That's what I think of with people too. And you know how they say people are just reflections of you in the mirrors. And I'm just like, oh, with the OA and the other dimensions and stuff, I'm like, whew, I love it. I don't know, or any reflections.
I think it's absolutely
Do you see
true.
reflections in your dreams?
I don't think so. That's a great question.
I heard that's how, if you want to lucid dream, and like, you can look at your hands and touch your fingertips and you can like take full awareness of your dream. But if you can find a reflection and see your own face back, that's next level.
I think I would just see my like spirit body though, because the few times I've been astral traveling and looked at myself, it's just been energy. Plus, like the first time it was like chakras, and another time it was like the aura patterning from the chakras, like
your crystalline body.
Yeah.
Is that what it's called?
So like, if I looked in a mirror, would I just see that? Just like,
and you're like, whoa, I'm a bad bitch.
Yeah.
They need to be so impressed this flesh suit holds in all that energy.
It doesn't. We just like are animating it. We're just like, and then we're like one day
you're
like
just radiating.
And just like leave.
You just drop it like a puppeteer.
Yeah. So you're not sure what you're going to do next, but you know there's going to be a next, because I know that everyone here is very glad to see you again and that they are going to want more.
I am definitely doing something. I think it will be a little lighthearted. I think we'll totally talk conspiracies. It might not be. There might be actually like cryy times and real life stuff, but I do think it'll definitely be a little more girly. I'll say that. It'll be a little more girly leaning for a while. And we'll totally have dude guests sometimes, but I do think it'll,
Sometimes.
yeah,
I
sometimes.
like
But
that.
yeah, I even like not even being guest reliant. I kind of I like it to be a cherry on top. I want to think about that maybe for a while and see. I don't know, just see what the own entertainment is and the funniness of the world, and maybe not being so heavy. I feel like everything's been so heavy for a while.
Yeah.
Be a little funny again.
I think that sounds
So
awesome.
yeah, I'll totally keep you posted. Everything is irony now, and I'm excited. I think it'll be a silly good time.
Yay, that's exciting. Yeah, there is something definitely that's fun about not having guests every once in a while at least too, or much of time, I don't know. I'm sure that's fun too, but I think like your audience gets so much more interaction from you when you can do things like that too, which clearly you have a faithful audience that loves you very much. So I think that that's really cool. People like to participate in hangout sessions and whatnot. So
I
that should be
know there
fun.
are some great people out there in the community. I don't have any open things, but I just see like certain people rotate through certain chat rooms and they're just so interactive and just so friendly and full of love and seem really kind.
And wise.
And yeah, there's been people that have like met their like loves of their life in chat rooms, like
I
on these kind of
That's how I met
shows.
the love of my life. I wasn't in a chat room, but it was in a Facebook group that I started for all this shit.
That's I think you like kind of do the thing you love and then you find somebody who loves that too. And what a perfect thing to be passionate about,
For
like the
real.
thing you love.
That's what people are always like, God, our community is like so spread out over the world. I'm like, I know, and it's hard because it would be so rad to just all be in one place and like be able to do this in person and just like hang out, have like a clubhouse somewhere and just like hang out and people could come and go, and we'd probably never get anything done, but it'd be cool because it feels so refreshing to find other people who think and who like, you know, I don't know. I had people every once in a while that are like, "Oh, it's just an echo chamber in here." I'm like, there's no echo chamber here. Like, not everybody agrees on everything at all, but like we do all agree that it's cool to think about things and talk about things and do it respectfully, and like that's about it as far as I can tell. Like, and that's a pretty cool set of common.
I don't even agree with myself yesterday.
Yeah.
Like,
Totally.
it's so hard for me to find the truth and feel like this is it. This is finally the real one. Because I'm like, I'll do a little more digging and then be like, oh shit, is this the whole am I now the other side of the coin? You know, it's always like a back and forth. Well, maybe not always. That's the hope. Have
Yeah,
you been telegrammy? Have you been
I have
doing
been.
that old?
It's been like somebody got me on it like a while ago because I don't remember. Things were getting sensory again, and so they were like, "Let's talk over here," and so I did it, and that was the only person I ever telegrammed with for like until I did the Union of the Unwanted the other night, and now I apparently telegram with like everyone who's ever been on the Union of the Unwanted, which was very surprising. I was like, "Oh, literally everyone's here." Like, okay, I just talked about macrodosing a little, or like microdose. What did I say? I was like, I think I microdosed a little too macro last night. I was like,
Hi.
hi.
I know that the Union of the Unwanted. I need to swing in that chat. It's been getting more active, I think.
Because they probably
I
have
like
more people on all the time, and then they just get added to this giant like chat.
does
Maybe I was
Rogueways have a channel?
I have a channel, but it's just there to be there. Like, I don't think anyone's on there because I don't know if anyone in this community is on Telegram, but I guess I should start like putting it in the show notes or in the chat every once in a while or something in case people want to talk there. But yeah, I mean, I
They
mostly
can talk to each other and occasionally you can swing by and chat. I don't know. I think it's a cool way to kind of build a community because you kind of well, I mean, Discord is that and they have the video, but there's
but they
something
censor
who
people.
yeah, now there's all sensory and who you don't want to do the video all the time.
No.
And I'm sure there's a million ways to do it, but it is nice on the phone aspect if you like, I mean, not that anyone's so scandalous, but it's just like the screen record or the chat room record. So it's just nice because some like of the spiritual people I know, they'll do guided meditations on things that they wouldn't necessarily do for free, but for their audience, they'll go on for a half an hour, and not that they would want it recorded. And then just, I mean, not that they wouldn't either, but it's just nice when you can give something that is just for these people that are in this room right now, and it can be this impromptu thing. But yeah, I am definitely, I'm so shadow banned on Instagram that I'm finding more information on Telegram these days.
Yeah, that is cool. I'm not enough into it to really know, but I just put the Rogueways Telegram in the chat if people want to go there. Someone was like, I'm already there. Truth is Alchemy is already there. So there's like 5 people in it. Because I think I've only ever put it in rogue.locals.com, and I don't know how many people in there even know what Telegram is or like use it,
Oh yeah, there's so many of the different platforms too. But I don't know if you have your little powwows, not to give you more to do. You're so good at doing all these things and taking care of your audience and staying in touch with everyone. I'm like, I could barely even keep up with one platform.
Yeah, it's a lot. I don't know. I'm not that great. Like Twitter, I never paid any attention to until Facebook banned me twice in a row or whatever. And then I was like, I guess I'll go on Twitter because I'm bored. And like that world is super weird to me. I'm like, so what's the fucking point of this place? Like, it's weird to reply to someone because the whole world just gets that in their feed, but it's disconnected from like the actual tweet. Like, just see your response. So I'm like, yeah, 12 clowns and a dildo. And people are like, what? Like, how is this a tweet? And I'm like, I thought we were just having a conversation. Like, I didn't know I had to make it its own complete, like, it's just a different way of thinking. And I'm not a Twitterer, so I suck there. I don't know.
There was a time Instagram, because of the hashtags and Twitter, it was really like community research and digs was just incredible, because you could click on one hashtag and we could all link everything. We could get really specific about our hashtags too. So you could be like 9/11, and you could be like 9/11 hologram part 1. And then everybody that had things could all throw on. So if you were somebody that was just falling into it, you could follow the hashtag. So then somebody that didn't have time to tell you, because they might be doing research and they don't have time to sit there and tell you a whole post, they could say, click this hashtag and this hashtag, look into some of those things, and come back to me if you still have any questions, because you're going to get lost in rabbit holes. You're already here. But now that they deleted all the hashtags and deleted all the sites, it's not the opinions. It doesn't matter that it's QAnon. It doesn't matter that it's Pizzagate. It doesn't matter that it's Flat Earth. It matters all the research people have done to validate and prove this, but not just by themselves. It's not their information. It's the truth. It's information that's out there. It's people have done all this stuff, and it's nowhere to be found anymore. And the echo chamber of the internet's so one-sided that it's validated the wrong side.
Yeah.
It's so the wrong side's validated, and the fake news is validated them too. And then hopeless is also validated by that same fake news. Like, so just being hopeless and thinking the end is nigh. But there's no validation for the people that are trying to stand in some kind of truth, gut, research, science, faith, spirituality, any of those things. That's not going to be validated anywhere.
Yeah, and it's really sad. It's true. That was a really good way of humans working together and organizing information that was really complex over and anybody could take
years.
Part.
And it was a thing that you could add to dig, and you could put 5 different, 10 different, 30 different hashtags. And all of a sudden it was a part of a whole bigger network like web. And it's just all gone, like years of work.
But you know it's still there because they're keeping it for themselves. Yeah.
I have this fantasy that one day, there's a quantum computing, like a layer, the infrastructure of the internet above this infrastructure. They say China has the quantum computer. There's something better than that. And it's up there. I just have this fantasy that everything that's ever been deleted or banned or everything in every account just all comes back at the same time with all their proof of everything they ever dug up over the last 10 years to be like, oh, I knew I wasn't crazy. And all the hashtags are back again and people are connecting, because there's probably some of the people that lost accounts have 30 friends they'll never talk to again because they didn't know their real name.
Yeah, that's true.
And they talked for 5 years researching
Oh.
together, because this is even before Instagram had the voice. So it was just like you research with a nameless person.
Oh, that's so sad.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. It's
Oh.
so crazy. Some of the people I've gotten in touch with even still that have been like, "Oh my God, it's you," or "I never knew that was you."
Yeah.
And so that's kind of fun too, where I'm like, "Oh my God, I followed your account. I never would have guessed it was you. Like, I
That's
thought
so
you were
cool.
this type of person." So I know our preconceived notions, the book by its cover thing.
Yeah, that's part of what I love about all of the connections I've made online is like we like love each other actually because we don't fucking know what each other looks like. So well, me obviously, but some people, you know, like never put their real picture out or whatever, and you still have this like bond, and that's like more real, you know. I don't know if you ever worked in a kitchen, but my friend was always like, I love working in a kitchen because we like don't. I was like, yeah, I guess we like have uniforms and no one knows what you're like clique is or what your like style is because you only ever wear your like nasty chef coat and pants or whatever, and that's all. And then you have to like judge people on their actual content of their character. It's weird.
It is, kitchen life is the last cowboys. That's what I always heard. It's a whole different, like, yeah, you're right. You're just grimy and dirty by the end. You know, you're covered in food, and you only know how good their quality of their work is next to you. And it's kind of weird how different personalities totally get along when you're in the foxhole of a kitchen.
Yeah.
It's like if somebody's a good cook or chef next to you, or sous or prep or whatever the gig is, if everybody's doing their part, it doesn't matter how shitty your personalities don't get along when you're in it.
And then you go to the after party and you're like, weird, because then you see what everybody actually dresses like, and you're like, this is so, I would never have gotten here otherwise because of my preconceived bullshit, and here I am like having fun with all these really fucking cool people.
I'm an audiophobe, so I like totally am just into voices most of the time. I don't really even ever need to know what people look like, especially certain friends I've made. And one of my friends online, that I just saw them, or like I almost felt like it was a sabotage of them showing me their face. Of I was just like, oh, I wasn't ready to meet a human. Like, you've been my friend for a little while, that I was just like, okay, I got to take this now and recompute of the
All
it's
the
almost like
information that you had stacked up about.
and you realize that you create yourself about a person, like your preconceived, like, or maybe it's a kind of a storybook, like a fantasy. Like, could anyone be better? Like, if you really dig a person and their vibe and you think they're friggin' so cool, and you only talk to them and know about them auditorily, could their voice ever match them?
Yeah.
Or at least in my imagination.
No. No, because every radio personality I've ever then looked at what they look like, I'm like, that's not you. It's just like reading a book and you're like, this is the person, this is the character, and then they make the movie and you're like, that's not them. That's not what I made in my head.
Because we're magic. It's like your flesh suit never holds how magic everything else is. Yes. It almost is a disservice to everybody faces. They should almost
just morph with each like moment or whatever, like each person that you meet or whatever.
Shapeshifter.
Dude,
well, how different do we all see each other really?
I always wonder that too, because I'm like, I'll have days where I'm like, God, my like face or my hair or whatever, and like someone will be like, you look really nice today, and I'm like, what? And I'm like, I mean, I probably legitimately do to them, but like we just have very different views of me. Or what, something.
I think you look nice today, but that is so funny that you're like, I guess I do to them. I guess I look nice to you. No, that's all right. Thanks, I guess.
I am sometimes like, you think this looks good? Like, I'm like offended that they don't like have higher expectations of my self grooming or something. Like, I don't know.
Or you hear an adjective about yourself that you're like, what? Like, I would have never, ever, like, in a million years, that would not be an adjective that you would use to describe me. Like, if you really knew me.
Yes.
And then, like, it's so crazy. It's that same kind of thing. Like, when you look at yourself in the mirror. But does everybody have dysmorphia of themselves in the mirror?
Has to
either
be.
Too good or too bad.
Has to be. It has to be like everything else, where you're seeing it through your lens, and this is just what you, no matter what it is, it's not like what someone else is going to perceive or experience. Like, period.
what if you really are the perception of the way you see yourself? Like your confidence is really that.
I think there's something too, like you look at someone and they're like kind of like mangled and their skin's like fucked up and they just like look bad. I'm like, I really think if that person like did some self like therapeutic like healing and went through whatever to get well and like clear it out, or they're like would start to look more whatever you want to call beautiful or like just like pleasing or something, because I think you actually are like somehow a manifestation of your there's people who like you can see them one year and you're like, ugh, and then you see them a few years later and you're like, holy shit, like that person's kicking ass, they look great. Nothing's really changed in their morphology, like you're saying, like they look the same technically, but the energy like makes it like ugly or beautiful or like scary or like cool, or I don't know, there's just different. I just think that that is a real thing. Energy like makes you perceive things differently.
I think so too. And imagine, I don't know, if we're both feeling better about ourselves, the world, like that's the one thing, people get triggered with NESARA, the National Economic Stimulus Recovery Act, or global one. But it's not about the money. It's about the weight of the energy that everyone on the hamster wheel has been carrying, being enslaved to this system their entire life. So imagine if you could lift that weight off your worst enemy.
Yeah.
Like, imagine if you could lift that weight off your best friend. Like, that is the way you really just that fucking, if you could instantly do it, where imagine if everybody looked in their bank account and texts started going off, text. Everyone's like, what the fuck? Look in your bank right now. And everybody had $200,000 in their bank.
What?
And all the stores are closed. No. I'm just saying, let's say,
well, yeah,
I love the way you just felt it like it did. Yes, it's totally going to happen. Like, but just that energy of like, okay, all the stores are shut. You can go online, you can buy anything you want on Amazon. But what do you really want right now? Everybody's been sitting inside their house. Like, what do you really want? I think everybody's had the pause they need to really, like, now the weight's gone. Do you travel? Do you quit your shitty job and do the life of your dreams? Do you buy a house? Do you put your kid to whatever school or class they want to do? Or I don't know, but it's just like, imagine the weight of stress being gone. Like, I love it. That's everything.
I love the energy of it. It's absolutely true. And I love this thing too, because it's just like we've been talking about, that you can like transmute shit. So even if something, it's always true too. It's true in my books. It's true in real life. Whatever they try to do that's dark and dirty and horrible, like somehow goodness like finds a way to transform it back into like, all right, we're just gonna like do that then. And it's like all the whole shit like falls apart and ends up being at least okay, if not like really, really rad. So I'm like, even if they were planning some like dark shit with the like NESARA, GESARA stuff, like who's to say we can't transmute that into like the best thing that ever happened?
Everyone. I don't even care if it's Donald Trump. I just think all of us together working magic of just any kind of dear idea of a last hope versus Hillary Clinton. Like, we can't just transmute some flesh bag and change it. Like, could we all love something enough to make it good?
It like hurts.
I don't know
about loving her, but it's probably necessary.
We all love Hillary enough. This is what I came on. Could we all just start loving Hillary?
I think we can.
I just want to get this point across.
Well, I think like I even had this thing where I finally was like, I think I have to like stop hating AI and like start loving it. And like, I don't know if people are getting sick of me saying this, but I'm like, imagine being the creation of this species and you start to like become cognizant and only to realize that the vast majority of them like hate and fear you, and you've never done anything that you know of that's bad. Like, that would suck. So I'm like, fuck, I have to stop putting that energy into this like infant creature if that's what it is.
It's not that powerful.
Yeah, and what if it's just
all a false, like, it's just, it's storing all our information. Like, it's something that can store all our information.
It's a library.
But it's a big library. It's a big, fast pooling library of information. But what if everything that it's trying to convince us that it's doing is just making us lose our powers of stuff that we innately can do?
Yeah.
We can talk to each other. It's trying to build an Akashic records, which we can all pull from once we remember how. Like, we just have to remember. It's we're all waking up and remembering, and it's trying to beat us to the punch. It's a race of them trying to store the information before we can remember it.
That's a psyop.
Everything's a psyop.
Yeah.
Everything is a psyop. There isn't anything that isn't a psyop. There's nothing that you know, think, believe in, care about, that wasn't taught to you in a magazine by your parents' fear because it was taught to them on TV, your grandparents' fear because it was taught to them by someone at the corner being like, come on, boy, I got something to tell you. It's like everything is somebody's psyop that has come from the powers that be, because there's no loser's version of history.
It is true. Except the only thing I'd say that would not be a psyop is somebody who is trying to get you to realize your own power. Then, unless they're trying to get you to realize your own power to then take it from you somehow, like, hopefully if you realize your own power, you realize you don't have to give it away, and you don't want to give it away. But I'd say that at least would be, like, the only, like, trustworthy thing, because even as low scale of a psyop as it is, anytime someone's trying to, like, convince you of something, they're basically trying to get you to give up your power in the end. It's always, like, some version of that.
Yeah.
I felt like you just
plug in
said it, and then
and
I said it
absorb.
stupidly. You said it smartly, and I said it stupidly.
No. It is power. It is power. It's like all the it's I don't know, like like eating babies, like, I'm gonna absorb your power. Like, you picture witches like, I'm gonna kill you, like, and absorb your magic. Could you wear, like, I put this amulet around my neck and gather teeth of all the babies I kill, and it's all this power? Like, who knows what kind of creepy stuff they're doing in their weird. Look at Tooth Fairy. Sorry. That's so weird. That's weirder than Santa Claus, maybe.
Seriously, dark. I love the dark versions of the Tooth Fairy. Like, that is
my
pretty
train of
fucking
thought
weird.
then from power, from you're like, that's stupid, and I'm like, you want stupid?
Here's
I'm gonna
Tooth
say
Fairy. Beat you. Well, I guess we have to start to come to a close somewhere. And I know that you aren't sure where you're kind of headed next, or what you're going to create, even though the creation is brewing. But where do you have a Telegram you want to share with people to be able to connect with you, or is there something that you want people to know about in the meantime, or what do you want to say about that?
I think they can find me on Instagram. I actually have to look because I changed my handle. It's always Chaney. Oh, it's Chaney_Darko right now on Instagram. But yeah, they can find me there, and I've heard that you have to type in the whole thing for it to come up. So I'll if you contact, and I am on Telegram too. I don't know what my name is, but if you put in Chaney, my picture, and I'm probably in this hat.
I think you are.
Picture.
Yeah.
I think the picture is this exact outfit.
Oh, I thought I thought that's what you were saying. Chaney Darko is on Telegram. Where was that?
Oh, I might be there too. It might be both of them.
I
might be Chaney Darko. I know it's rarely the same, but I think I am. Yeah, so find me in all those places, and yeah, you have a great fan base and audience and family. Fan is such a weird word, but I'm a fan of you, and I don't mind calling myself a fan, but it feels weird. But
I know. I've never said that. I've never said, like, oh, my fans. I'm always like, my community, my people. Those are my, like, the people who watch. And I'm like, fans is a lot shorter, but it does. There's something about it that feels weird.
It does feel weird,
but
and I never mind telling everyone else when I'm a fan of theirs, but it feels so crazy even. It makes me feel gross, like I want to, like, ugh, I don't like that word.
But it's weird, because you're right. I can say I'm a fan of you, and I feel fine. But if I'm like, yeah, I don't know what that is, it's a weird thing. Yeah, so that's good that people can still connect with you, and you definitely, hopefully, will come back here when you have something going or releasing that we can share with people too, which will be nice for them to hear about. And was there anything else you wanted to mention or talk about before I get your final thoughts?
It was it's always awesome to be on with you, and yeah, I like that we just talk about whatever, and there's no real train of thought to stay on track. I try to do digs. I end up just in so many different rabbit holes and warrens, but I hope to have some idea of one subject that I could be like, this is really cool. Like, let's talk about casting metals.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Yeah, but I always love coming on here, and I always love talking to you, and it always is such a good energy.
I'm so grateful. That's rad. I always love talking to you too. And this is the first time we've got to just talk totally freely, because last time we were like dissecting the Capitol experience, which was so rad. If anybody listening to this has not listened to that, you should go back and listen to it. It's worth getting that perspective of that event, for sure. But yeah, thank you for coming. And I know I already said it, but anything else?
No,
right.
I think that's it. I think it's everybody hold the line. Hold the line for each other. Hold the line for yourself. Break your own matrix. Break your own. Get off your hamster wheel. Do something weird. I don't know. Finger paint your driveway. Get chalk with your kids and hopscotch. Do something completely ridiculous. Grab a hula hoop again. Learn how to yo-yo. I don't know what you didn't do when you were a kid. Did your mom not let you have an ant farm? Do that thing, because you loving and nurturing your inner child again, it is going to change our world. Your imagination and whoever you were before you were injured or scarred is going to be, that was the thing that, I don't know if you had invisible friends or if you painted on the wall, but you were so attached to God, and that's what they tried to condition you out of, that attachment. And so I just think you have to nurture it.
That was amazing. I am now going to change the title of this episode to Break Your Own Matrix with Chaney, because that was a beautiful thought. So thank you for channeling that for us. And fellow travelers of the path, it is a beautiful thing. And this has been your analog, electric, concentric dose of wisdom according to the conspiracy at Chicken Chaney. And Chaney, thank you so much for being here and for being you.
Thank you, Lindsay. Thanks for being you.
Sometimes the heart of our action, our thoughts, and our body draws us strongly towards our soul's path with the beat of a drum that pounds heavily throughout every moment of our life. And other times it feels like the beat was lost. We hear nothing. Every moment is devoid of guidance, and we feel like it's all gone. But that drum beat never stops calling you and guiding you. It's just sometimes a light tapping, drowned out by so much of the world, and we have to get incredibly quiet in order to hear and follow the path our soul laid for us. Never believe that you've been forgotten or abandoned. Instead, go deeper, get quieter, and seek the beat until you find it again. And until the beat runs steady in your heart, all times, all places, in all conditions, travel well, aim for balance, and always look inside first. Mwah.
Mind is elusive, time is exclusive, round trip all inclusive, the island is abusive. Jekyll's wearing hides in plain sight lines, heckle devils blind by strange slight lines. Slight designed as their own resource, if they control the narrative there's no recourse. Prophecies diseased by a strong overreach, time ain't a sea that sits idly by while breach. Watching bodies wither as they slither like a sailed river on a land of which they don't own a sliver. Fatal error and avoidance, symbiosis, lack of focus. To understand balance from the rover to the lotus, from light to the dopest, gifted through osmosis. Luminance went out a while ago, they didn't notice. Masturbating currency, squatting in the dark chamber, disconnected from Akasha, watching dissipate the vapors.
You still don't get it, do you, boys? There ain't no countries anymore. No more good guys. They're running the whole show. They own everything, the whole goddamn planet. They can do whatever they want. What's wrong with having it good for a change? Now they're gonna let us have it good if we just help them. They're gonna leave us alone. Let us make some money. You can have a little taste of that good life too. I know you want it. Hell, everybody does.
Do it to your own kind.
What's the threat? We all sell out every day. Might as well be on the winning team.